Hi folks, and welcome to Yub Nub's Halloween special. I'm Indiana Jones, and with me is, I can never tell who he is this time. He's not wearing the beard, but he's obviously reusing a costume from last time, so I don't know. You are an enigma to me, sir. Anyway, we thought we'd talk about things that scare us. You know what scares us? EU haters. Not in general. We usually laugh at EU haters, but what scares us is their massive amount of misinformation and just no knowledge at all. It's kind of confounding at times. A few weeks ago, I had such a character post on one of my YouTubes, and he said, "You need to educate yourself." And he's tried to talk to me about how the expanded universe is full of retcons and everything never matched up, and they had to keep making retcons to make everything fit. And it was scary because he didn't know what the term retcon meant. He thought it meant changing the story. They had to change the story. And see, that's not necessarily what a retcon does. If we look in our books, retcons can be nouns or verbs. And we retcon a story, that is the verb, retconning. What are we doing here? Well, let's look at the definition. A retcon is described as a revise retrospectively, typically by introducing a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events. That is what a retcon is. We're not changing anything, we're just revealing new information to give you a different perspective on what you perceived. Now, this happens all the time in long-running series, TV shows, movies. I mean, you look at Halloween. Michael Myers is just a guy who was scary, right? He killed his sister, and that's all we know. Well, then as the series went on, they had to explain more. Now, they added on, right, to his backstory. Retconned is what they did. People retcon a story that's only supposed to go, 3 episodes or so many issues or whatnot. Comic books do it too. Spawn. Todd McFarlane thought he was going to go in one direction with Spawn's history, decided against it, and went his own way and kind of retconned the idea and said, yeah, Spawn thought that, but that was just Maleboloscia giving him the wrong vision. So retcons are nothing new. But what Star Wars did is they make sure to bring these retcons alive to help everything make sense. You see, constantly people tell me that there's tons of contradictions. And when I say name one, they go, Boba Fett. Boba Fett. Boba Fett? Obviously, you didn't keep reading. Well, his name was Jaster Mareel, but it's not. We found it. His name has always been Boba Fett. You must have missed the book where he takes the pseudonym Jaster Mareel to hide under cover. But in the books, he's at Concord Dawn. He was a clone. He wasn't someone who grew up on Concord Dawn. They never said that. You need to reread the short story. He was 19 years old. And so there is a 9-year gap between episode 2 and the book. In fact, the Clone Wars explained about maybe 1 or 2 years of his life afterwards. But then you still have 7 more years of his life that went unexplained. So we don't know what happened, but of course, the expanded universe filled in the gaps and told us, here's how they both fit. And then in the past, I've told you why the Jedi thought one way post-Jedi era, and then when the prequels came out, they went, oh, okay, so they invented a retcon. Here's why Jedi didn't know about the ways of the Jedi, the old Jedi Order. And it was because, Palpatine had wiped out all knowledge of the Jedi, or tried to at least. Which is true, because if we go from episode 3 to episode 4, isn't it kind of weird that no one knows Jedi? Only 20 years have gone by and you say, yeah, they're magic mystics or, parlor tricks is what Han kind of referred them to. And they're not like that. You're thinking, Han, you were around during the Clone Wars. What happened? Now, the expanded universe shows us, right? It says, okay, here's why Han really didn't know much about the Jedi. Here's why people in general just kind of passed over the Jedi like a folklore. Because Palpatine really eliminated all their history, put so much misinformation to the market that no one really knew what the Jedi were about. Even Luke, when he started up the New Order, didn't even know. So the retcons were there to have everything make sense. It just revealed new information that gave us a different perspective on things. And that was beautiful. And you know what else scares us? It scares us when we have people who run their own fan sites, they're gatekeepers and mock Expanded Universe fans, but if ever an Expanded Universe fan starts talking to them and taking the fight to them, they act like they're the victim and they make up things like, oh, that Matt's gonna come beat me up at some Comic-Con I'm at, even though I wasn't even there. One final thing that scares us is that even though the old Expanded Universe really cared about retconning and having the story match up, it seems like the new Expanded Universe, this new canon, doesn't really care. About a month ago, someone posted on the Star Wars Book Facebook page, they had a question. They had just read the Episode 7 novelization, and here's what they said. He said, loved the movie but was incredibly disappointed in Foster's novelization. That would be Alan Dean Foster. It was half the size of the previous novelizations and several inconsistencies from the movie. How can we accept this new canon if we can't even get the facts straight between the two editions of the same story? This boom, which I'm sure he said meant book, just felt rushed, phoned in. And I'm reading the novelization of Revenge of the Sith right now. There is an example of how you can adapt the film for the printed page. Star Wars Books replies. And they say the novelizations, ... all of them, including Revenge of the Sith, are only canon to the extent that they match events depicted on the screen. Obviously, movies and books have different production timelines, and even after a book is locked, small tweaks may occur within the film. This is why inconsistencies in novelizations and their films occur. Now, here's the thing. That's true for the first books, the original trilogy of novels. They came out months before the book came out, and there are a few inconsistencies between those. But if you look at the prequel books, they don't have those inconsistencies from the novels. This guy is right. Episode 3 didn't have them, neither did 2 or 1. They added stuff in there from deleted scenes they saw, or, just from the expanded universe, but they didn't change anything from the movies. And so this guy's saying, in this day and age, did JJ really just go off the wall and change big things at the very end? Maybe, who knows? But, that the book is not, in harmony with the movie, that can be kind of discouraging with people in the new canon. Now he goes on to say, are you saying that even the storyline integrations enforced by Lucasfilm Story Group in Episode 7 novelization are still not considered canon? And they respond, where specific details diverge from what's on screen, it isn't. However, the overall story is. As we just explained, the difference in production timing makes novelizations a bit difficult. Now we know, and he just actually said it, it wasn't like this in the prequels. They totally ignored that, right? And they said, oh well, it happens. And this is what I was telling you about the hierarchy of canon. There is one in the new canon. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not mocking them for that. That's fine. I told you it was inevitable. Especially when they're saying all of the official novelizations of the movies are not fully canon. Only when they mention the movies and they match it with the movies are they canon. If they go off the beaten track, do deleted scenes or, their own little storylines, those aren't canon. So we have a quasi-canon. Kind of like the old secondary canon, right? And that's fine. But the thing is, the fact that they were supposed to say, well, we have this story group in place, so there won't be a hierarchy. You knew, folks, there was going to be one. And this guy asked some good questions. And it scares us that they don't want to say, well, we'll retcon that. Because in the past, back in the old forums, anyone will know that Leland Chee was always like, don't worry, we'll come up with a retcon for that. If a book was off from the Clone Wars or from the movies or with another book, they were going to come up with that. But the new canon doesn't seem at all concerned about that, or as much, I should say, concerned. Now, either way, that's kind of scary. But I don't read the new books, so who cares, right? I don't care. They can do whatever they want. All right, folks, that is all we have for now. Have a scary holiday, and we will see you next time. So what's this about you bringing people down to Louisiana to teach me a lesson? Uh-oh.